Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Trivunovic, and I am the Vice President of Strategic Services here at BlueHornet. Little bit of background, I've been in and around the email space for the better part of about 16 years. It's a passion, a hobby, all of those great and wonderful things. If you're not familiar with BlueHornet, just a little bit about us. We're an enterprise ESP, part of the Digital River family, and really focused on providing channel expertise to our partners to help them grow their programs in a meaningful way globally. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes today, and we have a lot of great content to cover. So if you guys have any questions during the event, feel free to go ahead and key them into the Q&A box on your screen. And the plan is to go ahead and respond to all of your questions in writing following the conference. We'll distribute Q&A, all of the questions and answers to everybody, along with the recording of the event. So this is being recorded, and the recording will be distributed. So let's jump right in. The topic today is really looking at it's our retail email idea book, and we just launched this recently, and was really kind of an answer to a lot of questions that we get from our clients. And so, conceptually, the goal was to really look at what is happening in the email space, what are brands doing, specifically retailers doing with email that is meaningful. What we find a lot of times as industry experts and vertical experts, we walk into meetings with clients and share a lot of ideation and conjecture around what we should be doing in this space. And more times than not, the response is typically, okay, show me somebody who's doing that. And it's always a great opportunity for brands to see what other brands are doing. And so as we started compiling these responses to our clients, we thought, what a great opportunity to really pull this together in a meaningful way and share all of these great examples that we have found over the course of time. So, as we look at this, there are a number of topics that we're going to move through, and as I said, we're going to look at this kind of quickly, just so that we can make sure we cover everything in the time frame that we have allotted. But we have four main areas of really email examples and context we're going to share. We want to look at the mobile aware. We're also going to look at subscriber engagement, touch a little bit on social, and then we're also going to look at lifecycle programs that some brands are doing today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into this. So we lead with mobile aware because there's so much happening in the mobile space these days, especially this summer, right? People are on the move. They have their mobile devices with them. They're sitting by the pool, hopefully, or out running around. But, there is so much happening and changing in this area that it's really important to look at how brands are addressing this from an email perspective. So our first example is from Indochino. So Indochino actually is a really fun brand. They have a really great voice and do a lot of really cool things, really, with their email communications. And they do take a mobile-first approach. As they look at design, it is from a singular, a single-column layout. They do use larger images. They do use, bigger font so that as you're reading this on a mobile device, it's not too small to read or to view. And these messages are very focused, and they do this with all of their communications. They are extremely singularly focused, and so as you're looking at this on a mobile device, it's very obvious what they're talking about, what they're trying to accomplish, and what they want you to do. It's a single call to action that is extremely actionable and clickable directly from a mobile device. The great thing about this communication, or ones like this that they put out in this space, is that they do a really good job of making sure that the experience for the desktop user is not degraded either. And so, sometimes you will see brands that do take a mobile-first approach that, do degrade the desktop experience a little bit, which can have, an impact on performance. There's also, as you look at a mobile-first approach, it's definitely important to start digging deep into your metrics. So while we're talking about, great ideas right now, I would recommend that you look at the metrics, because at surface level, you might not see a huge discrepancy in performance when you take a mobile first approach. But dig a little deeper and make sure that you're not losing conversion activity because of that mobile first approach. We're starting to see some of that happen with a few of our clients. I wouldn't say that it's a rampant kind of issue, but definitely something that everybody should be mindful of. As we look at, another kind of mobile first approach, again, sister brands like Hollister and Abercrombie, they, again, these are very focused communications. It's focused on a single opportunity or a single type of offer. One of the things that's really interesting about this is the way they've wrapped the navigation. And so the ability to bring your offer up higher into the content or higher up into, the fold, and then moving the navigation down. But it's there in a meaningful way, and I think that's what's important. We see a lot of clients who get a lot of click-through activity on their navigation, and that's not uncommon. And some brands are afraid to move that down below their offer because it becomes kind of a secondary, and you have to scroll down below the offer to see it. But they're set up in such a meaningful way from a wide button perspective that they're largely clickable on a mobile device, which a lot of navigation typically isn't. And they're very obvious. And so, the click-through activity, as we've seen clients using this type of approach, the click-through activity on navigation doesn't seem to degrade. And it does give them the ability to move this offer, again, up higher into the box and into the window so that brands or consumers can, more actively engage with the purpose of the message. As we look at some mobile optimized opportunities as well, a lot of brands don't want to focus on a single message, right? It is kind of the challenge for the email marketer, in that when you're sending out an email communication to your subscribers, you want to get as much in front of them as possible. And when we're doing that, especially in a mobile environment, it can get overwhelming. And so really looking at ways that you can include multiple messages inside of a communication, but creating a sense of hierarchy, or creating a level of importance on the content and the offers that you're putting in front of them. So in this example from Harry and David, you can see that there's a primary offer, right? There is a main call to action, and there is a primary offer. But they have done a really good job of also including other things we think you'll love. And so it does visually, create this sense of hierarchy using a larger image on top, and then using the 3 smaller images on the bottom, so that you kind of have a sense of importance just by looking at it. And clearly the stack rank plays some level of importance in that as well. But it's important to make sure that you have that visual distinction as well. There are a lot of brands who will use kind of the stacked hierarchy, but have the same image sizes and the same calls to action across and throughout. And this can really create, it becomes a sense of, similarity through the entire communication. And so consumers or readers can get confused as to what is the point? What's most important here? What am I supposed to be taking away from this communication? And so by creating this visual hierarchy, by having larger and smaller imagery, it does solve that challenge or that problem. So that's a great way to kind of look at that. This design is also, from a mobile optimized perspective, scales down and up really well between a desktop and a mobile device. So for them, it's a good approach to achieving that mobile optimized look. And of course, what everybody is always talking about when it comes to mobile is looking at responsive design. And the questions that I get asked a lot, especially as mobile interaction and open activity and click-through activity on mobile devices continues to just outrank desktop activity, is, should all of our email be mobile, more responsively designed? And, the answer is not necessarily, right? There is a lot of value in leveraging responsive design and really being able to change the experience or alter the experience for the subscriber based on where they're viewing the message. But sometimes the level of effort associated with building out a responsive template doesn't necessarily match the return on the revenue that's happening. And so, it's always a good idea to look at this and to test it and to see if you can actually generate a marked difference between what is happening on the desktop with a desktop version versus what is happening in a responsive template or in a responsive environment for the mobile user. And one of the things that is really critical in creating that kind of responsive design, and what TJ Maxx has done really well here, is that a lot of brands will just take all of the content that exists in their desktop version and figure out a way to retool it for the mobile. And not all of the content that exists in your desktop may make sense for a mobile user. And so you can see TJ Maxx here has significantly reduced the navigation on their mobile device or on their mobile version to streamline that experience. They've kind of bulked up the free shipping piece so that it's more obvious and apparent and more clickable for fat little fingers, and really kind of just then optimized image size for the main offer. So a lot of other brands that you've seen, and you'll see this in other channels as well, not just in retail but in other verticals, is looking at the ability to completely alter the offer, right? So if you are on a mobile device and maybe you have a brick and mortar location, you could include information about tapping into the closest location, the closest brick and mortar location to take advantage. So you do have some ability to play with that a little bit and get more specific with the people that are viewing your content in a mobile environment. All right, so next we're going to look at subscriber engagement. So, we talk a lot about, engagement in the space and the importance of engagement, and it's a critical element of really keeping people engaged in your program and getting them excited to receive email from you. And I know that sounds funny because if you think about it as a consumer, none of us are sitting with bated breath waiting to get an email from a brand. But it is fun when you have those moments where an email jumps out of the inbox at you, and these are some of those moments. And so we wanted to really kind of highlight what some brands are doing with content to make it fun. So for this example from Bed Bath & Beyond, if any of you get email from them, you know that they're constantly sending offers for 20% off or $10 off. They do it in direct mail. They do it in email. And it becomes kind of this expectation of what you're going to get from Bed Bath. And this one was really interesting because we had one of the account managers at BlueHornet actually got really excited about this communication. And she said, I get email from them all the time, but this one really caught my attention because when she opened it, there was motion inside of it, right? And the actual shopping cart kind of flew across the screen, and it kind of went through this animated GIF. And Bed Bath actually does a pretty good job with animation inside of their email communications. And so, it's an opportunity to really kind of grab your attention and view it aesthetically. There's other animation that you're starting to see a lot more frequently now that could be a little more subtle, like waves crashing in the background or a lock of hair blowing in the wind. And it's amazing, just that slight motion that gets you engaged with that content just a little longer to look at and say, did I really see that just happen, right? And the shopping cart a little more obvious than the lock of hair blowing. But, same concept applies, right? You have this ability to actually see the motion happening across the screen. Now, mind you, to see that and to get that engagement, they have to have opened the communication, which is all about your subject line strategy. But once they're in there, you really want to grab their attention, and this is a great way to do it. The one thing I will say about motion in an email communication is that you shouldn't do it just for the sake of doing it. It's important that it actually has some sense of meaning or a tie to what it is you're trying to accomplish or say or express. The next one is lists. People love lists. I love lists. David Letterman loved lists. We have all these lists, and people love to see them. And calling attention to the fact that you have this list activity, or you're sharing a list that's the top 5 most recommended products of the season, or the top 10 items on sale. This one is the Limited's November top 10, and they've done a really great job of expressing it in the subject line. So it's our November top 10 as part of the subject line. And then, the list is visually interesting inside of the email communication. And so it really does give you an opportunity to spend some time and kind of go through that list. And a lot of times people will stack rank themselves against that list, like, that wouldn't be my number 3. I would make this my number 3. So it creates, again, this an additional sense of engagement with the communication. The next one here is something that we talk about in the industry all the time, putting control in the hands of your consumer. When do you want to receive email? You pick the time and we'll deliver it to you. And you don't really see it in practice too terribly often, which is why the One Kings Lane example really stood out. It's a daily communication, right, that One Kings Lane typically sends out. Great home stuff if you're not familiar with their brand. But here they recognize the fact that sending to a customer on a daily basis might be a little too much. And so they've actually sent an email out to you can send the email out and encourage them to pick times, right? Pick the times that they want to receive email from you. And so this is a great way to not only put that control in the hands of the subscriber, but it's also a great way to prevent disengagement and attrition. This is a concept, again, that you see used every once in a while, and it's not an approach that you would use all the time, for sure, but to stand out in the inbox a little bit, to have, a periodic mystery discount. These things are fun for customers. And, I just saw another one that came out today, and I cannot remember what brand it was for, but it kind of had this animation and mystery to it, in that you had to solve a puzzle to figure out what you were going to win or what your price, your discount was. These are great ways to get people to engage, right? So, put something in your inbox to find out what your offer is. This again was a last chance mystery offer, specifically for loyal customers. And so again, there's a lot of opportunity here in kind of bringing that level of gamification and entertainment to the email communication. And then the last one here in this section is really looking at bringing your editorial voice to your email communications. There is a lot of conversation right now around bringing that editorial content marketing aspect back to email. And it started that way. And then we devolved from that a little bit and as a channel, and started getting much more promotionally focused. And as you look at kind of the evolution of the channel, a lot of brands are starting to get back to this editorial voice. And it really isn't about necessarily just about having editorial content to share, but it's about creating an understanding and a reliance on the brand for expert information, not just a discount. And so Alan Edmonds, if you guys are familiar, great men's shoes, and they don't do a whole lot of discounting, they don't do a whole lot of sales, but what they have done and what they do really well is they create this sense of expertise for their email subscribers. And they, share with them how to take care of your shoes, and they give them, advice on how to protect your investment, right? And so there's so much that we can do as marketers with, with this idea of editorial content or X voice or utilization, right? However you want to look at it. But as I step up on my soapbox for a minute, we have really trained customers to wait for our discounts and our deals and our offers via email. And it is, we need to start, shifting that expectation a little bit, in that it creates a reason for the consumer to further engage with us, because we're sharing with them information that is important to them, and they look to us as experts to provide that. So, being able to bring that back into the email communications is a really great way to, further drive engagement. So just a quick, there's a lot of conversation about social and the ability to include and bring it into email communications. There are certainly complementary channels for sure, and there are a number of ways that, you can look at leveraging social inside of your email communications. We have a couple of quick examples here for you before we jump into the life cycle piece of it. Pet 360, pet people, very social people, right? These are, sharing pictures of their pets. They share stories of their pets. They dress their pets up for Halloween. And Pet 360 does a really good job of providing a forum for their pet owners and lovers to post and share content, and then they bring that online community back into their email communications. And so, they look at, what are the dogs into this week, and, all of these different fun things to encourage engagement with their social environments. And then, like I said, they bring that back into email so that everybody has the opportunity to, get involved in that conversation. And like I said, pet people, very social people. The other opportunity is really to just, be a champion for other channels, right? Email is one of those channels that is, kind of a hub, right, for other digital channels, and, really being able to identify other ways that your customers can engage with you is a really great opportunity. And some of it is really, can be as simple as sharing, with them ways that you can engage with them. These examples are all very specifically related to Pinterest. Clearly very visually driven, lots of opportunity to engage that way. But other opportunities exist to kind of be a champion for those other channels, including, bringing in content from their social sites and really being able to kind of carry that message forward. So as we look at kind of the last 7 minutes here, we want to talk a lot about, about life cycle programs. We're going to move through these, but, we talk a lot about life cycle messaging, and the reality is that it is just far more effective than batch and blast communications, because they tend to be very relative to a personal experience at a relative moment in time. And it's those experiences and those communications that resonate so well with a subscriber. And so, really being able to capitalize on that is important. And, if you look at it, a lot of brands, we see a lot of welcome series, lots of welcome messages, onboarding messages. We see a lot of reactivation programs and things like that. But there are so many other opportunities to communicate, throughout the life cycle of a customer or a product. And a lot of brands are really starting to kind of shift their focus on becoming more life cycle driven. And we're starting to see this trend in email communications that are really more life cycle than batch and blast. And so that balance, or that portfolio kind of makeup, is really starting to shift. So we've got a couple examples here to share. As I said, we see a lot of reactivation programs, and it is challenging if you think about it. Reactivation programs, you're asking your marketing department or your email marketing organization to re-engage a customer in a channel that they're currently not engaged with. And a lot of times those re-engagement programs are simple one-and-done type of communications. But it doesn't always just take one communication to try and reactivate a customer. Now, I'm not saying that you beat them over the head in perpetuity, but really looking at a way that you can progressively encourage customers to re-engage in a channel is important. Reactivation programs clearly important from a deliverability perspective as well, and you should I say this, but, you should only want to really be communicating with people who want to hear from you anyway. So sometimes, people just get busy and they forget about you as a brand for a little while. As much as we'd like to believe that we're always top of mind, clearly that's not the case. But here, this is a great example from PacSun in that they used a step-up approach, for a 3-stage reactivation program. So looking at ways that they can encourage, that engagement. And what happens with this is that you start to get a sense of, what does it take for a customer to re-engage with you as a brand? Is it a 15% off offer? Is it 20%? Is it 30%? Is it no offer at all and just a recognition of me as an individual and I have a voice and I'm a valued customer, right? Sometimes it doesn't take an offer at all. And so kind of moving through it in this way is a great opportunity to kind of learn what is it takes, in this example, PacSun, to win back a customer. Another is in-stock alerts. Zappos does a great job at this. They have a really great program in place. So if you go to their website and you search for a specific shoe in your size and it's not available, you have the opportunity to sign up on the spot for an inventory notification for when that shoe does become available. It's a great way to recapture a lost sale, because what would happen? What would happen if I went there and I searched for a shoe and I couldn't find it in my size? I'd go to a competitor's site and see if I can find it there. Now, that may still happen. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we certainly live in a world of immediacy where we want everything right now. However, if you're a loyal Zappos shopper and you want to go ahead and wait to get it from them because you know how easy it is to return when you don't like it, you can sign up right there. And then when they send you that notification, it's an immediate trigger to purchase. So a lot of really great opportunity there. The other side of this in looking at notifications along this front are really looking at when new products become available. So they also have these brand alerts. So if you have a specific brand of shoe that you really like and whenever they get new inventory and you want to be notified, it's also a great way to kind of trigger a product and an inventory cycle for them. And it gives them the opportunity to get in front of you with a very relevant communication that you've specifically asked for. So again, these are really great life cycle type of opportunities. Another here is from Tilly's, and it's looking at multi-channel type of opportunities. So as you look at the life cycle of a customer and understanding their shopping behavior, especially if you have a brick and mortar location, do they cycle in and out of online and offline purchase behavior? And do you have your program geared to A, identify that, and B, to address it inside of your email communications? So not every retailer has the ability to have kind of a cohesion between point of sale online and offline, but where you do, being able to have that kind of comprehensive experience as Tilly's does is really, really important. So it gives that that shopper the ability to use it in store or online. The last we'll look at here is this idea of post-purchase messaging. So it's not uncommon to send a review kind of communication after a purchase has been made, and not every brand does it, but a lot of retailers do, and it's a great opportunity to give the consumer the opportunity to provide feedback. Not everybody is going to, and you may not want to send it for every product that they purchase. You might want to look at product categories that make the most sense, or at price points that make the most sense. So consumers tend to provide reviews on bigger ticket items, right? If I bought a few things at Amazon that might have totaled a big ticket price, but were small little $3, $4, $5 purchases that added up, probably not going to go review all of those. But if I did some sense of larger purchase, I'm probably going to be more inclined to do that. So following up after the purchase, asking for their feedback, asking for ratings and reviews, and then also the opportunity to monetize that by simply showing them other recommended products is a great opportunity to get to that kind of post-purchase messaging. And again, really focused on a moment in time and a life cycle. So as I kind of round this out, just in looking at, recognizing these great email communications that we saw for the retail, idea book, really we were focused on looking at brands that were raising mobile awareness and addressing it, really accordingly inside of their organization with their design, with their approach, with the considerations that they were taking with their programs. And we also wanted to look at brands that could identify and really apply different approaches that are creating interest inside of their email communications to drive engagement. It's one thing to put an image and a call to action button in your email communication, but some brands are really starting to get creative about creating that interest inside of the communication. We wanted to, as we start talking and hear more and are, more involved in these conversations around multi-channel and omni-channel and, the reality of that starting to unfold with a lot of retailers, wanted to identify brands that were really being champions for other channels. And, it is, like, as an email marketer, I'd love to believe that, ours is the best channel, and I still firmly believe that. But, there are other channels that are, really helpful in carrying forth a message and have a lot of value in the consumer experience. And it's important a lot of times for us to take a step back from what we do on a daily basis and to recognize that it isn't about the channel that we work in. It's about providing our customers with a really great experience, and that's important. And then I think, as we looked at this, the last piece of it is really, truly recognizing the life cycle of our customers and our products, right? So being able to get more life cycle driven, really being able to map out what those life cycles look like and where we are and are not communicating. There are, so many opportunities that you would be able to identify that you could communicate with customers around meaningful moments in time that you could possibly not be taking advantage of. So as we close this out, as I said at the beginning, we will be answering questions in writing via the response to all of the questions, and the recording will be sent to everybody. In the meantime, if you guys want to go ahead and download the Retail Idea Book, it's at bluehornet.com/idea book. So it's there for you guys to download and peruse and flip through. And then I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to spend with us today, and we will be answering questions very shortly. So thank you, and have a great rest of the day.